Hi, everybody. I'm PJ Kwong, and I am delighted to be your host here on the Sports Clamor podcast. This is our very first episode, and I could not do this without the co-founder of Communiti, because Communiti, after all, is who is presenting this podcast. So please welcome Shashank BK. Hi, Shashank. How are you?
Hey, PJ. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Do you know what? This is so exciting because since we decided to do this podcast, we decided that we were going to talk about the business of sports. And as somebody who has been hip deep in sports my whole professional life, I mean, I was a coach for 30 years. I worked for CBC for 16 years as a freelancer. I mean, everywhere I look, it's all about sports. And I know that you were a sports guy back in India before you made the move to Canada for furthering your education. But what I want to do is I want to hear a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about it. Yeah, as you alluded to, I am from India, right? As you can see, I played a lot of sports back home, right? So I played a lot of cricket, a lot of volleyball, a lot of athletics. It was a lot of fun. And then I decided to move to Canada. It's shocking that it's been like 10 years already that I'm in this country. And then when I came here, one of the things that I noticed is, I didn't really have any friends around here. And my strategy for making friends back home was, you play some sport or another. Eventually, you hang out with them in the evenings, you kind of become friends. So I thought, let's adopt the same kind of model to Canada and see what happens here. And then I realized that accessing sports is a lot more complicated than it has to be. And over the last few years, we've just been on this journey to help simplify this process for everybody.
You know what's so interesting? That's how you and I met. You came to me to sort of talk to me about this brand new project that you'd started called Communiti. And it has had several evolutions, since that time. We started talking pandemic time. So it was always over Zoom. It sort of feels familiar to be talking to you via video chat.
Yeah. You were one of so I was just like randomly, cold reaching out to people, right? Nobody was really getting back to me. You were literally the first one who got back, and they were like, "Yeah, you know what? This sounds interesting." And then since then, it's been a wild ride.
So let's talk a little bit about the problem that you were trying to solve. I mean, in your own experience, what were you finding as you were reaching out to try and find sports organizations to make those friends? Did you make some friends, by the way? I mean, I'm a friend, but anybody else?
Now I have some friends, I can say that. But back then, right, like there were no friends, right? And it was like, a person who's like new to the country trying to like figure out how this whole landscape even works, right? And you look at it from my perspective, I'm just going on Google trying to find, hey, tennis lessons near me, whatever, soccer lessons near me, websites that don't work, coaches availabilities are not available. I'm like calling all these people, trying to find out, hey, what does it cost to like do lessons with you? Are you even available on this day? So it's like a lot of friction in the process, right? And then you look at the alternative side of things. Everything else in people's lives has become just so easy, right? Like and ordering something to your house on Uber Eats or Amazon, or booking a vacation on Airbnb, and people have started to expect that type of experience. And then we just saw that, well, there are tons of products that exist in the sports space, but none of them are like truly solving that problem. So we started delving into that space, and now we've seen some interesting traction from this.
So if I understand correctly, and I think I do, Communiti is sort of splitting its efforts and splitting its solution-based ideas around connecting people to services, and connecting service providers to people who could consume those services, and also the idea of social media. So let's start with the service providers. Let's start with, I've got a little kid who wants to play volleyball, let's say. How do I figure out where to access those services? I mean, let's talk about your partnership with Ontario Volleyball.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Like maybe even before that, let's talk about like what the challenge really is, right? Like, see, the users, they want one place to go to find all their programs, right? The providers, on the other hand, who are offering these programs, want more users to come. So it's natural to like want to connect them and create a platform to do that, which is what we've done. But like growing that platform presents some challenges in itself. It's kind of like this chicken and egg problem, right? The providers are not going to come on until there's like thousands of users, and the thousands of users are not going to come on until there are like hundreds of providers, right? So you got to find a way to like really solve this challenge that's on there, right? And if you're just a startup, that's screaming saying, hey, we're going to make sports easy, nobody's really going to care, right? It's one startup screaming, the 100 other startups are screaming the same thing. So you like really have to go and look at people with authority in the space and help them solve the problem. So if you look at sports in general, right, over the last few years, I've learned like quite a bit about this space. There are all these governing bodies that exist for every single sport that's on there, right? And so what I've seen at least is the path for intermediate to like advanced level athletes is very well defined, right? It kind of makes sense. That's what the governing bodies focus on. But then when you look at this whole grassroots, beginner, early stage ecosystem that's on there, we've seen that nobody's really owned that space, right? Like the governing bodies are not really owning it. There are a whole bunch of like everybody's trying to do their own thing. And so, recently we were approached by Ontario Volleyball, and they wanted to solve this problem, right? And they've been noticing it for decades, essentially, where the idea is, can we have one place where all volleyball providers are available, that people can just go on and make the bookings for? So you can see similarities between kind of what Communiti is and our discussions with kind of what Ontario Volleyball wants to do, right? So what we did with them is we worked with them to create this brand called Ontario Volleyball Connect, right? So it's this marketplace for volleyball providers. And the good thing about Ontario Volleyball is they're not restricting it to just their network of clubs and coaches. They are like, I want to bring the whole volleyball community together. So if you are a league provider, you are an individual coach offering private, whoever, you can come on that marketplace. Communiti and Ontario Volleyball will push all the users on there. The providers get additional bookings. The users have this easy way to find and book whatever they want in one place, right? And so that's what we've been doing with Ontario Volleyball, and it's been going great, honestly, right? And it's been a project that
it's new, right? Like just last month.
Correct. It was just launched last month. We have 30, 35 providers on there already. Like several thousand people are like visiting the platform every day. So I think one of the things that we want to do going forward is help governing bodies or like sporting bodies in general create their own marketplaces for their groups of people that they can engage, right? Because it becomes very interesting when you start thinking about it, right? Once you have this community of providers and viewers that's on there, if the governing body owns this problem, well, they can figure out how to like monetize this. Becomes a nice little way for them to make money. And secondly, you start to think about eyeballs, and there's like sponsorship money that becomes available. So, sponsors that are sponsoring the governing body now may want to sponsor this marketplace that you've created, right? So it gets the governing bodies thinking that, well, why should we own the problem? Because, well, it's the right thing to do, number one, because you are the entity that should be owning the problem. Secondly, you have a money to make money off of the marketplace. And third, you have this way to like engage new sponsors and create additional revenue streams. And we all know that, governing bodies don't have unlimited money, and money is a big challenge on here. And this creates a way for them to become like more self-sufficient, right? Yeah.
So may I just interject? So you're advising or sort of counseling governing bodies in the case, let's say, of Ontario Volleyball, that they own the problem of getting these people together.
Yes.
But now they're owning the solution by having
Yes.
the Ontario Volleyball Connect. So is it fair to say that Communiti is kind of the engine, but they're not front and center? So it
Correct.
really is an Ontario Volleyball, it's their solution. They're just engaging with you to sort of do the nuts and bolts of it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely correct. It becomes really important for the governing body to own the brand, right? So we just power, like Ontario Volleyball Connect, for example, is owned by Ontario Volleyball. They manage the brand, they manage the website, they manage the content, they manage the sponsorship. So it's their project. Communiti is just powering this marketplace like behind the scenes, taking care of all of the tech and the operational challenges that that are there. And if you look at governing bodies themselves, most of them want to do something like this, right? The problem is, the resources that it takes. It takes like several years and a couple of $100,000 to like build a platform like this, right? Now, what we've done is we have modularized this so that we can offer it to them at a fraction of the cost and the time that it takes to do something like this. They can be up and running in no time, right? And then they have this whole new way to monetize it. Their brand, their entity, you can push it to your people in whatever way you want, right? And Communiti is just It's just there behind the scenes.
And does this mean then that entities like Ontario Volleyball have to have a platform where people can pay for things, or is this part of what Communiti is doing in the background?
Yeah, no, we take care of everything. It's kind of like a plug and play solution, right? So we work with the governing body, we create the brand, everything else is handled by us. Like, how do we onboard providers onto the platform? How do we take care of compliance? How does money go through financial reporting? For the users, you take care of like reporting, like ratings and reviews so everything that you need to be a successful marketplace are entities that we take care of for you. Like, you don't have to worry about any of those aspects. It's all handled. You as the governing body focus on solving the problem, right? You have access to people, figure out who you want to bring onto this marketplace, how you want to bring them on, what sponsors do you want on there. So it helps you think more strategically about how you want to make money off of this. And we will worry about all the operational logistics.
So let's go back to me. And I've got little Tiffany who wants to learn how to play volleyball. How does this help me? I mean, I've gone to all of the websites that have 404s that don't work. How does this help me? Like, how have you minimized the steps for me? It's all about me. You know that, Shashank. You know that by now.
It's always about you, right, PJ? Right. So, but look, the end user, the idea is it's an easy problem to solve for them because the expectations are very clear. The expectations are, I want an experience that is very similar to what is out there in other industries. Right. Okay. So it makes that problem quite easy to solve because we know what they want. They want a platform where you can book in 30 seconds. You want a platform where there's like ratings and reviews from trusted people, a platform where you can message people easily, a platform that integrates directly with social media. So I'm browsing something on Instagram, I just like click on a link, I can make the booking. So the expectations from them are quite clear. And so we've heard that and we've been able to incorporate it. So the idea for you as a user is it's going to be similar, if not a lot easier than anything else that you do today. Like booking, it's as simple as, ordering food to your house or booking something on Airbnb or, anything else. So that's the idea with this.
So me as a consumer, let's just use that Uber Eats as an example. I don't really have to concern myself with how the restaurant is integrated into the Uber Eats platform. That's not my business. My business is being able to order Thai food.
Correct. Exactly. Right. So we work with the governing bodies, right?
Yep.
We bring the providers onto the marketplace. The users have a source of trusted, providers that are on there with ratings and reviews from people that have like gone on there, right? So you see that, makes sense for you. You just go and book it knowing that, the governing body Communiti have done all the legwork to ensure that the providers coming onto this marketplace are good, they're trusted, and they can deliver the kind of results that you're looking for.
Amazing. Okay, you said one of the words that I really want to talk about, which is Instagram.
Yeah.
I love the Instagram. Instagram is where I go to figure out lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about social media in general, because that's kind of the second side of the Communiti business and one of the things that you've been considering. I mean, you're a really smart guy. You've got some really smart guys that you're working with. So talk to me a little bit about social media and its influence or impact on what you're trying to do.
No, this is actually a very, very interesting challenge, PJ. Like if you're a provider in this area, right, offering sports lessons, like you really need to be paying a lot of attention into this, right? So you look at, first of all, some basic stats on this, right? Let's say somebody hears about, PJ's skating school somewhere. Guess what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go on like Instagram or Facebook or wherever to like check you out. Like this is just a fact. And then secondly, right now, what they want to do is they want to have, once they check you out, they want to have an easy way to like book with you. In fact, over like 70% of people want an online booking thing. They don't want to like call you or email you or any of that stuff. So that, we don't really live in that world, that world anymore. The far more interesting thing here is like close to 85% of people trust an online review that is verified as much as they would trust a friend recommending it to them.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's quite interesting, right? So if you're a provider, having verified reviews is going to be probably the most important thing for you to do. And when I say verified reviews, right, what I mean is people who have actually taken lessons with you. What I see on a lot of websites is just a quote that they've put up, and they write like Tiffany or like Emily or something. Who is that? Right? Like I can just make up some quote, like whatever, and then just like write it there and then put it. It doesn't mean anything, right? And consumers are smart enough to like know that, just a bunch of like bullshit on your website doesn't really mean actual like reviews. So what's really needed, if you think about it from the perspective of a consumer, maybe I can show you what this looks like, right? Maybe I can share my screen here, right? So let's take an example, right, PJ, of somebody's heard about PJ skating golf, or somebody's heard of like Birdie Bandits golf somewhere. They go on Instagram and then they start checking out their profile, right? They're looking at their posting, stuff like that. Then say they like land on their Instagram page, they're like looking at it a little bit more, and they see, oh, there's a booking link here. It says that, oh, you can like book your lessons with me, right? So you like click on that booking link. It takes them to say like a community page. And if you think about the perspective of the user, they're thinking about, I don't know who Birdie Bandits golf is. I have heard from somebody that they are good, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about them before I can book with them. And if you just go back to our previous conversation, we saw that reviews played the biggest role in actually making conversion happen. So on your community page, right, you have like ratings and reviews from people that have actually taken like lessons with you. Like you see this, you're like, oh, what looks interesting. Okay, there are other people. I have some social validation. You see that, okay, this golf coach, for example, is offering, say, like private lessons for an hour. Looks interesting. Pricing looks kind of, like manageable. Learn a little bit more about what this program is, what to bring. Okay, when is this coach actually even available? It's like, oh, wow, they're available on Saturday. Oh, okay. No, the noon slot works well for me. Maybe I should like book them like right here. And then it becomes this idea of, oh, should I book one lesson or 3 or 5? If I'm booking 5 lessons, well, it's cheaper per lesson to do it. This coach has a lot of like ratings and reviews from other people. Maybe they're actually trustworthy. You know what? I'm going to like book the 5 lesson pack on here and then see where it goes, right? So now what you've seen is this pathway to make these conversions become like so easy, right? I just showed you like live in like 30 seconds or so how simple that pathway is. So clubs and coaches and providers in general need to start thinking about it from this perspective, right? All these people are coming to your social media. They are checking you out there first. Reviews matter the most. How are you monetizing this? Right?
So is this a little bit different from the marketplace idea? So the marketplace idea is owned by, let's say, a governing body versus this is me as a solo entrepreneur with my own skating school who's taking advantage of people coming to see my social media, my posts, my whatever, and then wanting to access my particular service. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're completely right in that they're different, but also like very related, right? So let's think about what's happening, right? You as a provider don't want to have 100 different things showing up in 100 different places or 100 different tools. So let's take Ontario Volleyball Connect, for example, right? So you go create an account with Communiti, you put up your programs, your feature on Ontario Volleyball Connect, right? What happens is, no matter where people come from, whether it's Instagram or Volleyball Connect or Google or wherever, they all land on your same Communiti profile page.
Okay.
Right? So like if you're a user, you can come from Instagram or you can come from Volleyball Connect. Doesn't really matter. You all land in the same place. And then the conversion process is exactly the same. Like, so this is what I think the beauty of this is, especially for like volleyball, right? Because we have Volleyball Connect going on here. So we'll push the thousands of users who come to you from all these different sources onto Volleyball Connect where they can find you. Or, people are coming to your Instagram every day, hundreds of people, thousands of people. You push them from your Instagram to this. Ultimate objective is whether I push them, you push them, land them on that page, make that conversion happen. Right? So that's the idea and simplifying the whole process around it.
So you talked a little bit off the top about the chicken and the egg. That trying to find service providers, you won't get a lot of service providers unless you have a lot of users, and users won't come on unless you have a lot of service providers. Does this address that? I mean, taking the idea and taking those social media views for people who are active on social media, does that then help convert users, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, no, it is, right? It does help immensely with that, right? So now, like before, right, some of the challenges are, if you look at governing body partnerships that we've had in the past, right? So if you tell somebody, hey, go to this new app that I have and like download it, everyone's like, there's 1,000 apps. I don't really care about this app. I don't really want it. As opposed to the governing body saying, hey, I am creating a new initiative that I own that I want you to go to because I'm solving this problem for you. Now it becomes a very softer way to like push more people to go on there because it's coming from a place of trust and a place of authority in the domain, and they can easily push more people into these networks than when compared to, say, a company like Communiti, which is like a tech startup, like 100 other tech startups that exist on there. So absolutely, having more brand, let's call them like branded marketplaces on there will help a lot with that.
So I have a question for you. It just popped into my head. It's kind of a business question. And since you're, a smarty pants business guy, you might know how to answer it. So we talk about governing bodies, but what about brands? What about if there's like a famous, I don't know, skate brand or a famous golf brand or a famous volleyball ball brand? Like, how does this kind of marketplace play into that? Is that even a possibility?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. Like if you think about it, a lot of times, brands, governing bodies, like whoever, right? They're just trying to like engage with the end user, right? Which is the person looking for lessons or the parent looking for lessons, the adult looking for lessons. So I think there's like two pathways. So number one, we know that there is a problem that exists here, which is there needs to be a better way to bring together the grassroots level community, right? Like that's the problem. Like we know the problem exists for sure. That's on here. Now I think there's like two ways we can solve this, right? One is work with entities like Ontario Volleyball, and we create Ontario Volleyball Connect, right? That is owned by Ontario Volleyball, right? And they bring the community together. But it can be sponsored by a large volleyball brand, right? So that's one way for like sponsors to get into this, right? Where things are already established, the brand doesn't want to take on any risk. They just come in once it's more established and they plug and play. Now you look at the more interesting approach where let's say it's golf, for example. Maybe a golf brand wants to bring the community together themselves. So we can create a golf marketplace that is now powered by the sponsor itself, and they work together to like bring the whole thing. They get all the positive brand recognition. Everything goes to them as opposed to the governing body, right? So I think both opportunities like exist on here, right? It all depends on who wants to like capitalize on this challenge that exists here, right? So good opportunity, I'd say, for governing bodies or for brands that are thinking about engaging with the end user, and this becomes a mechanism to like make that happen.
Okay, last question, because this one's super important to parents and to everybody else. And to me as a coach, getting paid was always a problem. And we had the dreaded word checks that were difficult. So talk to me a little bit about how, if I go to Ontario Volleyball Connect and I find a program that I would like to have little Tiffany take, how does it make sure that the program gets paid, and how do I pay as the parent?
Yeah. So PJ, look, we've solved this problem. Like this is the thing with sports is in general, like tech adoption is just like so low, right? These problems have already been solved, right? So we work with a payment processor called Stripe, okay? And what essentially happens is you as the user come in, you see that this program is $100. We give you a whole bunch of ways to pay. We're like, pay with cash, which nobody really wants to do. Pay with credit cards, pay with debit cards, pay with Google Pay, Apple Pay, split it in installment payments. Whatever it is that you want to do, you pay. You have the flexibility to do that. Once you make the payment, we work with Stripe. Stripe ensures that the money goes directly into the clubs or coaches like bank account through like all the security, governance, all of that sort of stuff is like handled for you, lands there. And then if you want us to collect taxes for you, sure, we can do that as well. So we can handle all of these administrative aspects for you, like easily, making sure that the money lands in your bank account while giving your users the flexibility to pay using these modern payment methods that exist.
You know what? This may be the silver lining that happened during COVID, because people like me never bought anything online, never did anything. And then all of a sudden it became the only way to go. So what you're talking about is something that many people are already used to.
Yeah, exactly, right. And honestly, I'm quite excited about this, right? I'm hoping to see like more tech adoption here because clearly the users are pushing for it. Now I think it's time for like providers to like get on board and then just give the users what they want and then see more growth for themselves.
Okay, last word goes to you. I want to know 3 things that you hope are going to happen over this next couple of years to do with people converting social media views into bookings, and also that whole marketplace idea? What's in your crystal ball?
Like, honestly, look, my main objective is growing sports. Like, I've been involved in sports for my whole life. It's had a massive impact on me as an individual. So I know what it can do for people, right? The problem is it's not easy to access, right? Like, we just need to make that as simple as possible. So our objective is over the, let's call it the next year, next 2 years, is just two things. One, we are going to work with individual providers to help them convert more people that are looking at their social media profiles into bookings, because they get more money at the end of the day, which means they put up more programs, and so the cycle goes on. Secondly, at a larger scale, we're going to work with a lot of governing bodies, brands, etc., to build these branded regional, local marketplaces that are there that will have impact on a bigger scale within this, right? But ultimate goal is just the same. Make it easy for people to like access sport and just get them into sport and play, right? Like, that's what we're trying to like solve here.
You know what, Shashank, this has been an absolute treat to nail you down and talk to you for a complete half hour. And just this has been fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me today.
PJ, it's a pleasure. I'm excited to see future episodes in the podcast.
Me too. I'm PJ Kwong. I'm delighted to have had you along for this first episode of Sports Clamor. Make sure that you follow us on wherever you find your podcasts, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.